My best friend is destined to be the story's wicked villainess. She's supposed to awaken her inner demon, fall madly for the male lead, bully the heroine into submission, and then, after her purpose is served, suffer a tragic end, disfigured, disgraced, and disappearing beneath the ocean waves. I watched her across the cafeteria table, happily dipping a perfectly golden French fry into a small puddle of ketchup. Victoria, Tori, Vance, heiress to the Vance Industries fortune. With her flawless skin, sharp blue eyes, and legs that went on for days, she was the undisputed queen of Northwood High. She was also brilliant, fiercely loyal, and had been my best friend for over a decade. And I was the daughter of her family's housekeeper. Our mismatched statuses never mattered. We'd clicked from the moment we met, two opposite puzzle pieces that somehow formed a perfect whole. Now, a cold dread was seeping into my bones, a horrifying echo of the dream I'd had last night. Tori noticed my stare. "What's up, Chloe?" she asked, her mouth full. "You look like you just saw a ghost." Worse, I thought. I saw a future. My hand trembled slightly as I pulled out my phone, opening the picture that was already causing a stir on the Northwood High gossip page. "The new transfer student," I said, trying to keep my voice casual. "I've got my eye on him." Tori took the phone. The boy in the photo, Asher Reed, was leaning against the locker, a shadow falling across his face that couldn't quite hide his sharp, handsome features. He had an air of cold indifference that the novel I dreamt of described as captivating. Tori scrutinized the picture for a long moment, her brow furrowed. Finally, she scoffed and pushed the phone back to me, her lips curled in disdain. "He's not good enough for you, Chloe. He looks like someone owes him $1 million and his puppy just died. Total downer." A wave of relief washed over me, so potent it almost made me dizzy. At the same time, a quiet resolve hardened in my chest. From now on, I decided, I will be Asher Reed's most loyal, devoted, and embarrassing fangirl. The dream had been terrifyingly vivid. In it, I learned that our lives were all just plot points in a cheesy romance novel titled The Tycoon's Darling Bride. The story was set right here at our school. The male lead was the mysterious transfer Asher Reed. The female lead was a sweet, kind-hearted girl from a poor background named Elara Hayes. And my best friend, Tori Vance, she wasn't a hero. She was the story's brainless, cruel villainess, a tool used to drive the main couple together. The novel described how she'd fall for Asher at first sight, but he would only have eyes for Elara. Consumed by jealousy, Tori would begin a relentless campaign of terror against Elara, locking her in an abandoned bathroom, framing her for theft, and shredding her rented prom dress in front of the whole school. Each cruel act only pushed Asher and Elara closer together. The final, desperate move was the stuff of nightmares. Tori would drug Elara, planning to leave her for a group of thugs in an alley. But of course, the hero, Asher, would swoop in at the last second to save the day. He and Elara would share a night of passion, she'd get pregnant, and the story would devolve into a dramatic chase of he pursues, she flees. And the villainess, having served her purpose, she wasn't allowed a graceful exit. After Elara's disappearance, Asher would unleash his full fury on Tori. The Vance family business would crumble. She'd be ruined, violated, and cast out by her own family. Her final scene was a lonely silhouette against the stormy sky before she jumped into the sea. Just thinking about it sent a chill down my spine. "Today's fries are extra crispy," Tori declared, shoving a fry into my mouth. "Last one's for you." Seeing my dazed look, she burst out laughing, a sound so bright and genuine it hurt. I watched her, this goofy, generous girl, and felt a surge of hope. Looking at her now, how could she ever become that monster? It had to be just a dream. It couldn't be real. Bzz, bzz. My phone vibrated with a notification from the school's social media page. I tapped it open, and my blood ran cold. OMG, who's this hottie? New transfer student? Anyone got the scoop? Tried to find out, his background is a total mystery. Beneath the comments were a dozen candid photos of him. It was Asher Reed, the male lead from my dream. He was real, and he was here. If he was real, did that mean everything else was too? That in the near future the events from my dream would play out one by one? I turned to look at Tori, who was still scrolling through her phone, giggling at some meme, completely oblivious. My hand holding my own phone started to shake. She couldn't die. I wouldn't let her. This prophetic dream wasn't a curse, it was a chance for me and for Tori. Her fate wasn't set in stone, it could be changed. All I had to do was make sure she never fell for Asher Reed. If she didn't love him, she wouldn't target Alara. If she didn't target Alara, she wouldn't meet that horrible end. My eyes fell back to my phone screen. An idea, crazy and desperate, sparked in my mind. Tori, noticing my intense focus, leaned over. "What are you staring at? You look like you're plotting world domination." I took a deep breath. "Hey, Tori," I said, holding up the phone so she could see Asher's picture clearly again. "Do you think he's handsome?" She looked, and for a split second, I saw it. A flicker of fascination in her eyes, a faint blush creeping up her cheeks. It was the plot, the narrative, trying to assert its control. Before she could form a coherent thought, I cut in, my voice filled with a fake, dreamy sigh. "He's the new transfer. I think I'm in love." The dazed look in Tori's eyes vanished, replaced with sharp, crystalline shock. "What?" she yelped, snatching the phone from my hand and holding it inches from her face. This time, there was no trace of infatuation in her gaze. It was all critical, painstaking evaluation. "Who even is this guy? You don't know him. How can you be in love at first sight? Chloe, honey, be serious." She started rambling, her protective instincts kicking into high gear. "He is not your type. Look at that arrogant face, that permanent scowl. He looks like he'd be the type to have rules for his girlfriend. No, this guy's a walking red flag. Probably has anger issues, the kind that get into domestic disputes." She went on, tearing Asher Reed's character to shreds. I just listened, the tension slowly draining out of me, replaced with a profound sense of relief. It was working. Becoming a simp, as the internet would call it, was hard work. It was also highly competitive. When I tried to stuff a bundle of love letters, bought wholesale online, into the slot of Asher Reed's locker, I found it was already crammed with dozens of other brightly colored envelopes and small gift boxes. The male lead's appeal was no joke. "Chloe, I'm serious," Tori said, leaning against the opposite wall of lockers with her arms crossed, her expression a mixture of pity and disgust. "What do you even see in him? You've been chasing him for a month, and he hasn't even glanced in your direction." I ducked my head, putting on my best shy and smitten expression. "It's enough just to be able to see him from afar," I whispered dramatically. Tori gagged. Just as we were leaving Asher's hallway, he appeared, thanked by his usual crowd of admirers. He walked with the cold, untamed arrogance. I heard Tori let out a sharp, derisive snort beside me. "Such a poser," she muttered. I had to physically restrain the smile that threatened to break free. "Don't say that about him," I said in a weak, pleading voice. That was the last straw for her. Tori threw her hands up in frustration and stormed off down the hall. I scrambled to catch up, already preparing my next round of apologies and reassurances. The next morning, I went through my now familiar routine, attempt to deliver a warm breakfast to Asher Reed, and get predictably rejected. As I sat on a bench by the school's running track, mournfully eating the breakfast burrito myself, a figure suddenly sat down in front of me. I looked up. It was a handsome guy who looked vaguely familiar. I racked my brain for a moment before it clicked. Leo Sterling. In the novel, he was the younger brother of the tragic second male lead, Ethan Sterling. Ethan was the quintessential nice guy who loved the heroine, Alara, from afar. He challenged Asher for her affection and even tried to help her flee the country, defying his own powerful family in the process. His story ended when he got into a car accident on his way to visit her abroad, leaving him in a coma. Alara, heartbroken, returned home, only to fall back into Asher's arms. Ethan was another beautifully crafted tool for the plot. As for his younger brother Leo, the novel barely mentioned him. He was just a background character, like me. Leo Sterling's eyes were fixed on the large breakfast burrito in my hands, a strange light in them. Startled, I reflectively hugged it closer to my chest. What? This is the only one I have left. A flicker of an unreadable emotion crossed his face before he sat down next to me. Asher hates anything with meat. It's not exactly a secret. Yet, as his most devoted pursuer, you deliberately bring him a burrito loaded with bacon and sausage. I stared at him, confused. What's it to you? You know he's going to reject you, Leo stated, his gaze sharp and intelligent. So you buy something you want to eat for yourself. And after he turns you down, you're not even a little bit sad. You're not in love with him, Chloe. You're putting on a show. My heart hammered against my ribs. He saw through it? But for who? Smack. My greasy hand clamped over his mouth, and I dragged him behind the bleachers, out of sight. I glared at him, my mind racing. What do you want? He calmly peeled my hand off his face, wiping his mouth with the back of his hand. He looked me straight in the eye. I just wanted to confirm something, he said, his voice low. I wanted to see if you, like me, also had a very strange dream. My pupils contracted. I stared at him in stunned silence. Leo Sterling had also dreamt the truth of our world. I wanted to save Tori, and he wanted to save his brother. I've tried everything, he confessed, his shoulders slumping. But my brother's gaze, it keeps getting drawn to Alara Hayes. It's like he can't help it. He looked at me, a glimmer of hope in his eyes. Maybe we can help each other. I was stunned. What do you mean? My brother, Ethan Sterling, he began ticking points off on his fingers, is the next heir to the Sterling Corporation. He's been an overachiever since birth. Academics, arts, athletics, you name it. He's 6'2", has the face of a movie star and the build of a model. It's a solid investment, trust me. I think he and your best friend would be a great match. I finally understood. He wanted to team up, to play matchmaker for Tori and his brother Ethan. If they got together, both of them could escape their tragic, pre-written fates. I shrugged. That's a nice idea, but you'd have to get your brother's eyes off the female lead first. At the mention of this, Leo's expression turned gloomy again. He was clearly out of ideas. An audacious thought struck me. I patted his shoulder. I have a plan. I leaned in and whispered it in his ear. He jerked back as if he'd been electrocuted, his face flushing a blotchy red. You want me to pursue the male lead? Are you insane? Shouldn't I be pursuing the female lead to create a diversion? No, you're not getting it, I said earnestly. You told me your parents passed away and you and your brother have always relied on each other. If you get into trouble, I guarantee your brother won't have the time or energy to think about girls. And what could cause more trouble than pursuing Asher Reed? Besides, I added as I saw the gears churning in his head, if you're also chasing Asher, you and Tori will have something in common to complain about. It's killing two birds with one stone. His expression wavered, a flicker of horrified understanding in his eyes. He thought about it for a few seconds. Finally, he spoke, his voice hesitant. That actually makes a twisted kind of sense. I grinned triumphantly. He licked his lips, then paused. So where did you get this burrito? It smells amazing. The next day, the sky opened up. Rain poured down in relentless gray sheets. I met Leo on the way to Asher's classroom block, holding my usual peace offering. Leo was holding a sandwich, his eyes practically glowing with hunger. Pace yourself, I advised him. I know you're starving, but wait until after he rejects you. It'll taste better. Do you really think I'm like you? He shot back with a sniff. But as we reached the door to Asher's classroom, we both froze. A large crowd was gathered, students whispering and craning their necks to see inside. We pushed our way through to get a look. A girl was standing in front of Asher's desk, head bowed, her cheeks flushed bright red as she confessed her feelings. Asher, however, looked down at her with an air of supreme condescension. Like me? He drawled, a cruel smirk playing on his lips. Is the word like that cheap coming from you people? No, that's not it. I really, really like you, the girl stammered, flustered. Asher's patience snapped. Get lost, he said, his voice sharp. The girl looked up, her eyes wide with shock and hurt. Just then, a clear voice cut through the tension. A petite girl in a simple white dress stepped forward, Ilara Hayes, the female lead. Asher, she said, her voice steady, if you don't like her, you could have just politely declined. Why did you have to humiliate her like that? I glanced at Leo. Showtime, I mouthed. Asher's gaze shifted to Ilara, a humorless smile on his face. What did you say? Ilara stood her ground, her chin held high, and repeated herself, word for word. The smile vanished from Asher's face. Politeness? Do people like you deserve politeness? He turned and glanced out the window at the deluge. A cold, wicked idea lit up his eyes. You all say you like me. How about you show some real commitment? He swept his gaze over the crowd of hopeful girls. Anyone who runs 3 laps around the track right now, in this rain, I'll consider going out with them. A wave of murmurs went through the crowd. In a storm like this, running 3 laps was a guaranteed way to get sick. The girls hesitated. I immediately turned to Leo and whispered, your brother is watching from the back of the crowd. Leo gritted his teeth. Your best friend is peeking from the opposite hallway. We locked eyes for 3 seconds. Then, without another word, we bolted. We sprinted out of the classroom and headed straight for the track, the roar of the rain nearly drowning out the gasps from the hallway behind us. Almost immediately, I heard Tori's furious scream. Chloe, you idiot, get back here. Don't you dare. Have you lost your mind? At the same time, a wave of panicked shouts erupted from the crowd we just left. Someone get help. Ethan Sterling can't breathe. He's having an attack. Leo was already a blur ahead of me, his arms pumping as he ran, singing at the top of his lungs like a madman. He was fast. I pushed myself to keep up, but just as I hit the track, a hand grabbed the collar of my jacket, yanking me back. Keep running, a voice seethed in my ear, filled with the rage I had rarely ever heard. Chloe, if you cheapen yourself like this one more time, we are done. Realizing she was genuinely furious, I immediately stopped fighting and let her pull me under the small umbrella she was holding. Don't be mad, I won't run anymore. Leo's love for Asher's clearly deeper than mine. I can't compete with that. Tori glared at me, opening and closing her mouth several times, too angry to form words. Just then, I saw Ethan Sterling being half carried, half supported by his friends as they rushed down the stairs. He paused only to shout at Ilara, Sorry, Ilara, got an emergency, can't walk you home today. The next second, he plunged into the rain, sprinting towards his brother. Leo, stop! You have asthma. You can't exert yourself like this. Don't you know that? Asthma? I looked at Leo, who was still running like a champion. You wouldn't know to look at him. The scene descended into chaos. While Ethan tried to tackle his brother on the track, Tori dragged me away from the spectacle. From the third-floor balcony, Asher Reed watched the entire thing unfold, his face a mask of cold amusement, as if he were watching a circus. Ilara stood beside him, her hands clenched into fists. "Is this what you wanted? Are you happy now?" Always the righteous heroine, I thought wryly. None of this was really her business. I glanced back at Tori's furious profile, then at the Sterling brothers wrestling in the mud on the track. The plot. It was already starting to veer off course. And maybe, just maybe, their endings were starting to change too. Good news. After 3 months of my relentless, cringe-worthy pursuit of Asher Reed, I was certain Victoria Vance would never develop a crush on him. My new fear was that she might march up and punch him in my honor, which would probably lead to a different kind of tragic ending. But as I was worrying about this, I noticed Tori's attention had started to drift away from Asher and fixate on someone else. She'd be talking to me, then trail off, her gaze locked on a figure down the hall. I followed her line of sight. It was Ilara Hayes, laughing and chatting with her friends. "I don't know what it is about that girl," Tori muttered one afternoon, her voice taking on a sharp, unfamiliar edge. "She's so pretty, everyone loves her, and she had the nerve to beat me for the top spot in last month's midterms. It's just infuriating." Her tone was venomous, completely out of character. It sounded scripted. "Wait a second," my brain screamed. "That's not right. The plot is forcing her. It's finding a new reason." "Tori, what are you talking about?" I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "You didn't get first place because you stayed up all night binge-watching that new sci-fi show and fell asleep during your history final." Tori blinked as if waking from a trance. "Oh, yeah," I said, using the nickname we'd all started using for Ilara. "Lara, don't do anything weird. She hasn't done anything to you." "You too?" I watched in horror as Tori's expression hardened again into that cruel mask. Just as Ilara was about to walk past us, Tori stuck out her long leg. Time seemed to slow down. Ilara's foot caught on Tori's ankle. She stumbled, her arms flailing as she pitched forward. Without thinking, I lunged. I threw myself to the ground, landing with a painful oof as Ilara fell on top of me, my body breaking her fall. For a second, I think I saw my ancestors waving at me. Thankfully, Ilara was surprisingly light. "Ugh, sorry," I wheezed. "My friend's leg, it cramps up sometimes." "Are you okay?" Ilara scrambled off me, her face full of concern as she helped me up. On the other side of me, Tori had snapped out of it, rushing forward in a panic. "Chloe, why did you fall?" she cried, her eyes wide and clear again. "I'm fine," I waved her off. Ilara, sweet and gentle as ever, didn't hold a grudge and fussed over me until I convinced her I was all right. After she left, I turned to look at Tori, and my whole body went rigid. The venomous look was back. "Even you like her?" Tori hissed, her voice low and strange. "You'd throw yourself on the ground for her instead of siding with me. How annoying!" Slap. The sound echoed in the quiet hallway. I had smacked her, hard, across the cheek. "What has gotten into you?" I demanded. Tori stared at me, her hand flying to her face, a look of hurt and confusion in her eyes. The cruel mask was gone, replaced by my actual best friend. "Why did you hit me?" she whispered. The sudden, jarring change in her personality terrified me. I knew I had to talk to Leo. I found him by the library, dark circles under his eyes. He looked like he hadn't slept in 2 days. My brother and Ilara were finally becoming just normal classmates. Then suddenly, it's like a switch flipped. He's back to staring at her all the time with this sappy look on his face. I let out a long, defeated sigh. "So we can't fight the plot after all." He was silent for a few seconds. Then he clapped me firmly on the shoulder. "Don't give up. It's not over until it's over." He managed a grin, revealing a row of white teeth. "I'm going to try to keep my brother busy at home for a few days. Keep him away from her. You do your best to stop your friend from bullying Ilara. We'll take it one step at a time." I nodded numbly. It was the only thing we could do. But that evening, disaster struck again. As I was leaving school, I overheard a few girls from Ilara's class talking in the hallway. Where's Ilara? She went to the restroom forever ago. We're almost done with our cleaning duties. You don't think she's trying to ditch, do you? Seriously, people from the countryside are so unreliable. I stopped in my tracks, an icy feeling creeping up my spine. I turned to one of the girls. How long has she been gone? The girl shrugged. Almost an hour, I think. Oh no. I broke into a run, sprinting back through the school and straight to Leo's classroom. I burst in, breathless. It's happening! The locked in the abandoned restroom plot point. It might have already started. In the novel, Tori tricks Ilara into going to an old abandoned restroom on campus and locks her in for the entire night. Ilara develops a high fever, and Asher is the one who finds her and carries her to the hospital. It's the event that thaws their icy relationship and lays the foundation for their future romance. Leo shot up from his seat. Was it Tori? He asked urgently. I don't know, I said, my voice shaking with panic. I've been watching her like a hawk ever since the tripping incident, and she seems normal again. But she could be faking it. I can't tell anymore, but it doesn't matter. If it really was her, we can't let Ilara get hurt. My mind was racing. You have to help me find her. We can't let this happen. Just as my panic reached its peak, I felt something sweet being placed in my mouth. My thoughts stuttered to a halt. I looked up at Leo. He had popped a milk candy into my mouth. They say sugar helps with stress, he said, his voice calm and steady. Don't freak out. I'll help you look. The sweetness spread across my tongue and my racing heart slowed a little. I nodded. Okay. Northwood High didn't have many abandoned restrooms. There was one near the gymnasium and a few on the rooftop. You check the gym, I'll check the roof, I told Leo. The rooftop access door was supposed to be locked, but today the rusted old padlock was lying on the ground. A bad feeling settled in my stomach. I pushed the door open and hurried up the stairs where I heard it, a faint, rhythmic knocking. I followed the sound to the very last stall in the old disused restroom block. Is anyone in there? Hello? Ilara's voice, small and strained. Even now, she was polite, a true saint. The lock on this stall was broken. It could only be opened from the outside. I twisted the handle and threw the door open. Ilara was huddled in the corner, her face pale. When she saw it was me, her eyes lit up. Chloe, it's you! She tried to rush forward, but stumbled, a grimace of pain on her face. What's wrong? I asked, moving to help her. I think I sprained my ankle. Before my hand could even touch her arm, a sudden gust of wind slammed the door shut with a deafening bang. My heart dropped into my stomach. Oh, you have got to be kidding me. I lunged at the door, rattling the handle, but it wouldn't budge from the inside. A full 3 seconds of silent horror passed. I turned to look at Ilara, forcing a shaky smile. It's okay. Someone else is looking for you. They'll find us soon. What I didn't count on was Leo's habit of tidiness. Moments later, we heard footsteps and then Leo's voice from the other side of the rooftop access door. Hello? Anyone up here? Then, with a decisive click, he shut the door behind him to keep the wind out. Ilara and I fell silent. He found our restroom and tried the handle. Chloe, are you in there? We're stuck, I yelled back, and you just locked us all on the roof. There was a pause, then the frantic sound of him jiggling the main door handle, followed by a defeated silence. He came back to our door. Okay, new plan. What's the plan? I asked, trying to study the lock on our door. Without tools, it was hopeless. Chloe, Ilara said suddenly, her voice laced with worry. I turned. She was pointing at Leo, whose dim outline I could see through the door's grimy wire glass window. I think Leo's not okay. I pressed my face to the glass. Leo was leaning against the wall, clutching his chest. His breathing was loud and ragged, each gasp sharp and desperate, as if the air was too thin to breathe. My blood ran cold. His asthma. I fumbled with my pockets, then his, through the window. Where's your inhaler? He grabbed my hand, his grip surprisingly strong. "Forgot it," he wheezed. "Are you an idiot?" I snapped, the fear making my voice sharp. "Is there anything else we can do?" He shook his head, his brow furrowed in concentration. "Feels different this time. Maybe hyperventilation. Need a bag." My eyes darted around the filthy, empty restroom. A bag? Where was I going to get a bag? My gaze fell on the trash can in the corner. Would a trash bag work? "Chloe, what are you thinking?" Leo gasped from the other side of the door, his eyes wide with horror even in the dim light. "No trash bags." Okay, I said, my mind racing. On the other side of the stall, Ilara was relentlessly banging on the door, trying to attract attention. I went back to the window, reaching through to put a hand on Leo's shoulder. "Hey, how are you doing?" In the next second, he grabbed my hand with both of his. He pulled it to his mouth, cupping my palm over his lips and nose, and began to breathe, deeply and forcefully, into the small space I provided. The warm, damp rush of his breath against my skin was a strange, intimate sensation. I wanted to pull back, but his grip was tight and I found myself frozen, my own heart hammering in my chest from fear, or adrenaline, or something else entirely. Slowly, his frantic breathing began to even out. The tension in his shoulders eased. He let go of my hand. My palm felt tingly and numb. "Better?" I whispered. "Yeah," he breathed. "I'm back." Just then, Ilara hobbled over from the main door. She pointed to a small, high window set into the top of our stall door. "That window, it looks like it can be opened. I think I can climb through." "But your ankle is hurt," I protested. "I can manage," she insisted, her gaze fixed on Leo. "We need to get him out of here." She looked at me, her expression so determined I couldn't argue. "Give me a boost?" I crouched down and she used my shoulders as a platform. She was light, but with her injured leg, every upward movement was a struggle. Her palms scraped against a sharp, rusty screw on the window frame, but she didn't make a sound, simply gritting her teeth as she squeezed through the narrow opening. We heard a soft thud, followed by a pained gasp. "Are you okay?" I called out. "Fine, just landed a little hard," came her strained reply. A moment later, the lock clicked and the door swung open. Ilara was standing there, disheveled and covered in dust, but triumphant. I helped a wobbly Leo out, and the three of us began the slow process of supporting each other down the stairs. As we reached the first-floor landing, we heard frantic footsteps. Tori came flying around the corner. "Chloe, I've been looking everywhere for you." "I had to check the security cameras to see you came up here." She rushed to my side, her eyes scanning me for injuries. "What happened? Are you hurt?" She didn't even glance at Ilara. Seeing her genuine panic, I knew instantly she wasn't the one who had locked Ilara in. It must have been some other nameless, plot-driven antagonist. Behind me, Ilara's strength finally gave out, and she slunk to the floor, her left ankle already swollen and purple. "I'm okay," I told Tori quickly. "She's hurt worse. Check on her." Without a word, Tori went to Ilara, examining her ankle. "You can't walk on this. Come on, I'll carry you." She crouched in front of Ilara. "Let's go." Tori had always been surprisingly strong. She lifted Ilara onto her back with little effort and started down the hall. "I'm taking her to the nurse's office," she called back over her shoulder. "You two follow." "Okay, got it," I said, watching them go. I turned to look at Leo, getting a little too close and nearly bumping my nose against it. I shuffled back awkwardly. He cleared his throat, a small, amused smile playing on his lips. "So, the Villainess just rescued the heroine. That's a new one." "For the last time," I corrected him, a real smile spreading across my face, "my best friend is not a villainess." He met my gaze, his own smile widening. "You're right," he said softly. "She's not." In the aftermath of the rooftop incident, things truly began to change. Asher Reed, seeing his dramatic games had no effect, seemed to lose interest. He grew quieter, more withdrawn. The real shift, however, was between us. "Ilara helped us," Leo said to me one day. We should pay her back. I nodded. How? He did some digging before when he was trying to save his brother. He saw her application for the school's dream registry at the beginning of the year. He said she wants to become a top lawyer. He looked at me, his eyes shining. Chloe, what if we help her do that? Our first mission came unexpectedly. We saw Asher cornering Alara in the library, his face set in that familiar, arrogant mask. I heard your grandmother is in the hospital. He dropped a thick textbook on her table. You need money for the bills. Here's the deal. You tutor me, and I'll pay you. He was so certain she'd agree. He probably had someone investigate and knew her family couldn't possibly afford the expenses. But Alara just offered him a polite, small smile. That's very kind of you, Asher, but there's no need. Asher froze. What did you say? My grandmother's medical bills have been taken care of, she said gently, but thank you for the offer. How? He demanded, frowning. Did you take out a high-interest loan? Alara, don't be stubborn. No, she shook her head. I have a few good friends. They helped me. She glanced at her watch. If you'll excuse me, I have to go. They're waiting for me. She left a stunned Asher behind and met us at our usual table. The four of us had fallen into a new routine. Alara, patient but firm, was tutoring the struggling Leo. You got this question wrong again, Leo. She'd sigh. This mistake is honestly a little illogical. Across from them, Tori would roll up a practice test and smack me on the head with it. Stop laughing at him. Are your English grades any better? Get this essay done. The money for Alara's grandmother had come from Leo, officially as a loan. We were worried she wouldn't accept it, but she just nodded seriously. We'll write up a formal IOU. I promise I will pay this back one day. I smiled. That's what friends are for. Leo grinned. For the great future lawyer Alara Hayes, this amount will be pocket change. Alara blushed, but smiled back, a real happy smile. The rest of high school passed more peacefully than I ever could have hoped. Ethan Sterling graduated and went to study abroad. His path completely diverged from the tragic script. I asked him about it, Leo told me. He admitted he had a crush on Alara. But, I prompted. Leo chuckled. But, he said, Alara is a girl with incredible strength. Her future is limitless. If we're meant to be, our paths will cross again someday. Right now, she needs to focus on her dreams, not on some high school romance. Wow, I breathed. Your brother should have been the male lead. Tell me about it, Leo agreed. That Asher guy has nothing on him. Oh, by the way, does Tony still get those weird, hostile urges toward Alara? Not anymore, I said, thinking back. There are still some people at school who give her a hard time, but Tori is always there to run interference. I don't think it's an issue. Good, Leo nodded. Then her fate as a villainess has probably changed. Villainess? Male lead? Female lead? What are you two talking about? Leo and I froze. We looked up. Tori was leaning against the second-floor railing above us, a curious frown on her face. When did you get there? I squeaked. I've been here the whole time. Got here before you did. Leo paled. You know, I just remembered. I have a thing at home. Gotta go. See you tomorrow. He scurried away. Tori came downstairs, crossing her arms and fixing me with an intense stare. I felt my palms begin to sweat. Well, I stammered, if I told you that we're all living inside a novel, would you believe me? Half an hour later, Tori was quiet, processing everything. So, she said slowly, you're saying that I was supposed to be a tragic villainess, and all your bizarre behavior for the past few years was you trying to change my fate. I nodded furiously. Exactly! Then why didn't you tell me sooner? I tried, I cried. After the dream came true, I tried 1,000,000 times to explain it to you, but the words would get stuck in my throat. I couldn't say it. Tori looked at me, her expression unreadable. So why can you say it now? I blinked. She was right. Why could I say it now? I looked at her, and a joyous realization bloomed in my chest. I grabbed her by the shoulders, shaking her gently. Tori, it's because your ending has already changed. The story is over. I threw my arms around her, hugging her tight. Because you're safe now, I can finally tell you, you're not going to die. Tori was still a bit dazed, but she instinctively wrapped her arms around me, patting my back as I sobbed with relief. Okay, of course I'm not going to die. Didn't we make a promise? I have to be the maid of honor at your wedding. If I'm gone, who's gonna have your back? Years later, my work sent me on a business trip to Kingsbridge City. The first thing I did was call Tori to cash in on a free meal. After graduation, she'd taken seed money from her family and launched her own company, which was now thriving. She'd cut her hair short, and with her sharp suits, she radiated a cool, confident energy that made more women than men ask for her number. After dinner, we sat in a coffee shop, and she gave me a sly, gossipy look. You and Leo have been together for 5 years. When's the wedding? I felt a blush creep up my neck. It's still early. Tori's expression sharpened. Chloe, you're not feeling insecure about the difference in your family backgrounds, are you? Seeing me look down at my coffee, she went into full protective Tori mode. Hey, what do you have to feel insecure about? You're amazing, you're beautiful, and you have a best friend as incredible as me. That goofy Leo Sterling, besides his face, what else does he have going for him? If it doesn't work out, dump him. I'll find you someone better. Her fierce defense was so reminiscent of how she'd acted when I was pursuing Asher that I couldn't help but laugh. I'm not insecure, I assured her. Work has just been too busy to think about it. It was true. In fact, Leo was the one pestering me about marriage every single day. I'd practically begged for this business trip just to get a few days of peace. Enough about me, I said, taking a sip of coffee. How are things with you? Great, she said, then paused. Well, mostly. There's this new rival company that keeps poaching our clients. Their tactics are a little dirty. We're getting ready to sue them. Which company? I asked casually. Tori arched her eyebrow. A subsidiary of the Reed Corporation. You actually know the CEO. I froze. Asher Reed. Yep. Talk about a small world. I remembered the novel's description of the adult Asher. Ruthless, decisive, and cruel. Tori going up against him made me nervous. Are you sure you'll be okay? Don't worry, Tori said, a mysterious smile playing on her lips. She gave me a wink. I've hired some powerful outside help. She's a golden lawyer, highly sought after, who just flew back from overseas specifically to help me with this case. I'm definitely going to win. Who is it? I asked, amazed. Ping. Tori's phone chimed. She glanced at it, a genuine smile lighting up her face. She looked up and out the window of the coffee shop. She murmured, Speak of the devil. There she is. I followed her gaze. Walking toward the cafe was a woman in a perfectly tailored suit, her hair in a neat bun, pair of gold-rimmed glasses rested on her nose, adding a sharp intellectual edge to her gentle features. She pushed the door open and her eyes immediately found us. It was Alara Hayes. She smiled. Long time no see.